Who that nation? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, how y'all doing? Happy New Year to everybody on the Gulf Coast, down there in New Orleans, the state of Louisiana, and Saints fans all around the world. Welcome to the pregame show edition of the BG Breakdown Podcast with your boy Who Dat Davis. And as always, if you don't know, you will know that over here we bleed black and gold until we are dead and cold. Thank you guys very much once again for joining me today. I apologize for taking a month off. If you guys haven't been keeping up recently, my grandmother, she unfortunately passed away almost a month ago to this point. Tomorrow will make officially 1 month since she has passed away. It has been a very, very trying time for me and my mother, but we're getting through it day by day, step by step, just leaning on each other, leaning on our family. We got a lot of moving parts coming up in the near future, but that's for a future problem. That's for a future problem for a future me. With that being said, though, I can't stay moping about, soaking about forever. My grandmother wouldn't want that for me. Definitely don't want that for you guys who are waiting patiently for me to start making content again. So here we are with the first content since her passing. It is going to be a great day. It's going to be a great show. I hope you guys tune in and give your thoughts, your opinions on today's game, Week 17 game as the New Orleans Saints travel up to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania this week to take on the Philadelphia Eagles, who are sitting at 13-2, the best record in the NFC as a whole, and sitting at number one in the NFC East. This matchup could not be worse for the New Orleans Saints, but not all is lost for the Saints because they have something to play for. I wrote this team off as dead and gone, dead in the water halfway through the season, but they've come out swinging. They've come out firing since the bye week. Pete Warner came back and said they're going to go 4-0 the rest of the way. So far, so good. He's made good on that promise. The Saints are now 2-0 since coming out of the bye week, probably the best record in the last 5 seasons, which is actually very, very good. They've given themselves an opportunity, not guaranteed, but an opportunity to potentially see January postseason. Not only do the Saints take on the Eagles today, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are taking on a hot Carolina Panthers team who has won 3 out of the last 4 games and have a dominant run game and have somehow found a way to use Sam Darnold efficiently without being a turnover-prone machine, thanks to the coaching and leadership of Steve Wilks. I'll give credit where it's due. The NFC South is still very much wide open to these 3 teams. The only one that's out of the running is the Atlanta Falcons. Praise for that. But yeah, today is going to be very trying for the New Orleans Saints. But luckily, they're getting a little bit of help because I'm being told, I have heard that the Philadelphia Eagles do not plan on starting Jalen Hurts today. Gardner Minshew is said to be starting today for the Eagles. If anything comes up that says otherwise, please let me know. My info is very, very finicky at this point. Gardner Minshew in his last start against the New Orleans Saints was when he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2019. He threw 1 interception and no touchdowns, and the Saints came away with a 13-6 victory over the Jags to improve to I believe it was 4-1 or 5-1 against those Jaguars. But this Gardner Minshew is a little different than what we were accustomed to seeing out of him from his time in Jacksonville because of one man. That name is Nick Sirianni and the offensive system he has put in place for this Philadelphia Eagles team. We're seeing more RPOs. We're seeing more shots down the field. And he's got better weapons than his time with the Jags, too. We got A.J. Brown, who was traded to the Eagles this past offseason from the Titans, and he got a lucrative deal. He has made headway. He has been a plug-and-play guy, an explosive guy. But we've got Marshon Lattimore back. We are going to see Marshon Lattimore back for the first time since Week 8 when he suffered an injury against the Seattle Seahawks. That kidney injury, is going to be an absolutely fun matchup because the last time those two faced off, A.J. Brown was with the Tennessee Titans, and he didn't really have an impact on that game. He went, I believe, 2 catches for 23 yards. That's how good Marshon Lattimore has been against top-tier receivers. Looking for that matchup again. His only bad game so far this season, I would say, was against Justin Jefferson in Week 4 when they were going across the pond to play in London against the Minnesota Vikings. Next up, we've got another interesting question to answer with the New Orleans Saints defensive secondary. Because of Marshawn Lattimore coming back, they have to figure out who is going to start at CB2. You've got Paulson Debo, you've got rookie Alontae Taylor out of Tennessee. Who do you believe should be starting opposite of Marshawn Lattimore? If you were to ask me, if I was to make the decision, I would go with Alontae Taylor. Alontae Taylor has been more technically sound. He has been more disciplined. He has not given up the deep ball very much at all this season. And unlike Paulson Debo, Alontae Taylor has not been on a bad end of too many back-breaking penalties that have given opposing offenses a breath of life. And that's what you're going to need. You're going to need to play sound, disciplined defense if you're going up against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. With a little bit of slot receiver play, I don't know what you're going to see from Gainwell out of the backfield or number 16. I forgot that guy, but he made some good plays down the field as well from the slot. But those outside guys, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, I would have to go Alontae Taylor. That physical on physical matchup, that really is the identity, the strength of the Saints secondary. That is something I would go with and just rotate Paulson Adebo in on occasion. And I have nothing against Paulson Adebo. I love what he did. I love that he came off the bench after sitting out a full season coming out of Stanford. He had an absolutely amazing rookie season, but he just took a slump this season. Mainly, I would say, it's because of the fact that he was injured. He was playing with an injury. He was trying to work his way back from that week by week, and it really affected his play, affected his confidence. So he's having something of a sophomore slump. You want your best player out there against the best possible players you're going to be facing with, and that is Alontae Taylor. All right, I like Alontae, and he has proven me wrong. When the pick came in for the New Orleans Saints to select Alontae Taylor's second round, I was skeptical, as was many Saints fans. Most of us, me included, have not heard of this guy, and this little that I did know, he was a little iffy. But he has quickly come on. He's quickly asserted himself in that secondary as one of those guys that can provide a spark in both the run and against the run and against the pass. You know, CD level, but hey, it's close enough. We'll take anything that we can get to give these guys some life. And shout out to Tyrann Mathieu. You know, I'm getting a little off schedule here, but Tyrann Mathieu was on the wrong side of me early on this season. However, he has turned it on late. He has been very, very good, as we really expected out of the Honey Badger. You know, when we were following his career from the Texans to the Cardinals to the Chiefs and now to New Orleans. This is the type of Honey Badger play we like to see. I want to continue seeing more of that. You're going to need more of that today against Gardner Minshew and the Philadelphia Eagles, especially in the run game. You know, they still got some good running backs. They've got Boston Scott. You know Boston Scott if you're a Saints fan. And they've got Miles Sanders. They still have a good offensive line, even though they're going to be without right tackle Lane Johnson, arguably the best right tackle this season. They're going to be without him probably until the postseason. And that is something they have to take advantage of. They have to take advantage of that, you know, because they lean on their run game a lot to set up their play, their RPOs, their play action, stuff like that. And with Gardner Minshew, you're not going to be as conflicted in terms of the RPO because there's no real running threat with Gardner Minshew. He's not Jalen Hurts. He's not fast. He's not as athletic as Jalen Hurts either. The last two times, Jalen Hurts has played the Saints. He's been for over 100 yards rushing consecutively. That makes absolutely no sense. It's crazy. In his first start, the Saints gave up 200 yards over on the ground. One over 100 went to Jalen Hurts, and another went to Miles Sanders. And more the same in the following year. The Saints lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. They hung a 40-burger on the Saints. That is embarrassing. 40-23 or 27, I believe it was. You absolutely cannot have that happen a third time in a row. Third time's the charm, as they say. So they have to get that fixed. They have to stop the run first. Like Cam Jordan would always tell the media, you stop the run, get to have some fun. Got to stop the run first. And the Saints should have most of their guys back on the defensive line today. Carl Granderson, Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport, Devon Yamada, Shai Tuttle, Peyton Turner, I believe even. Those guys have to play the run extremely well. And the linebackers who have been actually the brightest spot on the Saints defense this season. Demario Davis, Pete Werner, he was questionable. He may not go today, but Caden Ellis has stepped in very, very nicely and has played at a high level since making his starts as both a run stopper and even out in coverage. That's incredible. And he is set to be a free agent this offseason. So you can find a way to keep Caden Ellis, to keep this defense young and competitive going forward, then you're going to be in good shape. I like what Caden Ellis has put together since coming on to the Saints. He had a really rocky, slow start, injury-riddled start. His rookie season, he tore his ACL, couldn't really bounce back from it. And so I would say this season, this is probably his breakout year. So I would keep Caden Ellis. I would keep Pete Werner and Demario Davis and probably find someone to trade for Zach Bond. I would say trade Zach Bond for somebody, for some type of compensation, because Zach Bond isn't the type of linebacker that the Saints defense is really known to use, really, because he's more of an edge rusher, like a pass rusher, and they don't really use him for that. They try to convert him to a traditional inside linebacker, and that's just not his role. I believe this game is going to be under. The over-under is supposed to be 41. I'm going to take the under here because the New Orleans Saints don't really show to have the capability to put up a lot of points against a really good Eagles secondary that's got Darius Slay, James Bradbury, one of the best cornerback duos in the league this season. They got good linebackers that can play out in space, and TJ Edwards leading the way. And their pass rush is not going to allow for anything to get down the field. Josh Sweat, you got Ndamukong Suh anchoring the middle. You got Hassan Reddick, who's stepping up. He's having a career year. Those guys each have over 11 sacks apiece. That's how good that defensive front is for the Eagles. Excuse me, I'm getting itchy. But I believe in my boys. Because I don't think they want to go outside. I think they want to finish this season strong, regardless of the outcome that happens in other games. But how good would it feel if the Saints could win today and put themselves in the position to maybe come away with the NFC South title and host a playoff game? That would be absolutely insane, considering where we were to start really most of the season before the bye week, right? Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a second, and you'll see why I'm saying this. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were favored to win the NFC South by a fair margin. They were projected to have 13 wins this season, and they're struggling. They're currently 7-8, and they're getting ready to take on the Carolina Panthers. Tom Brady has not looked as good. He has not looked good with his receivers, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Russell Gage, who Bucs fans said was going to be that really good replacement for Antonio Brown, who I've always said was their X factor, and why their offense has been so explosive is because they had Antonio Brown, and it forced defensive coordinators, defensive coaches to really respect him and his ability to play that receiver spot. He's one of the best in the game when he's not off his rocker, right? I think that's what got them to the Super Bowl. I still believe that to this very day, and you're seeing evidence of that right now as it stands. And they don't have Rob Gronkowski anymore. That's Tom Brady's go-to guy, and got to have his situations. Rob Gronkowski's not there no more. Antonio Brown's not there anymore. Not to mention your offensive line has gone through a makeshift of injuries. Not injuries, retirements. Mark Pett retired. Ryan Jensen, he suffered an injury during the preseason / training camp. He is working his way back right now. Hope he gets better soon. I don't like those guys, but I don't wish injury on anybody because this is still just a game, and these guys got to put food on the table for their kids, right? So Ryan Jensen's coming back potentially for the postseason. That's if the Bucs can win today. If they can win today, then he's surefire to come back. And then you got your revolving door at the left guard, your left tackle, and right tackle. Jonathan Smith and Tristan Wirfs have both missed time due to injury. They're going into this game less than 100%, especially Donovan Smith, who has been the most flagged offensive tackle for holding calls this season. I believe it's over. I think it's over 10, over double digits. It's nuts. So, and I don't expect that to get any better against this Panthers defensive line that's known for its speed and athleticism. With Derek Brown anchoring the middle, with Brian Burns having himself a really good season, and Udo Gross Matos, who's been a good rotational role player for them on the opposite side. And you got Shaq Thompson anchoring the middle for their defense, their linebackers. That secondary is no joke. That's led by Jeremy Chin. Now, they do not have J.C. Horn. I do not think they have J.C. Horn because he suffered a broken wrist. So, and they just signed Josh Norman. With that being said, though, I don't think Tampa's going to do too much in the passing game against this really talented and athletic Panthers defense and their Panthers offense. Man, that run game is getting scarier and scarier as the weeks go by. Steve Wilkes found a way to use Sam Darnold efficiently without turning the ball over. I think Sam Darnold is going to have a good game today against the Bucs secondary, who really got bailed out. They got bailed out. 3 games this season, the Bucs have stolen away games 3 different times. One was against the Rams, second was against us, and the third was last week against the Cardinals, which they should have lost, by the way. The Cardinals should have came over with a W. If they didn't, piss down their leg and shit the bed. All right, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a stack here. If the Panthers win and the Saints win, week 18 is going to be must see for everybody involved. I'm here for the chaos. I'm here for the fuckery. It's going to be absolutely insane. Now, what are some key players or key matchups that I'm looking forward to seeing out of the Saints today against the Eagles? Number one, I said it earlier in the show, Marshawn Lattimore making his return, going up against A.J. Brown. How is Marshawn Lattimore going to look coming off that abdominal/kidney injury he suffered in Week 8 against the Seahawks? Is he going to pick up right where he left off being an elite shutdown corner, or is he going to struggle? It's going to need some safety help. That is going to be pivotal if you're going to take away Gardner Minshew's first immediate read. Number 2, I'm going to say Alvin Kamara versus the Eagles linebackers. Alvin Kamara has to get going in this game. When the Saints get Alvin Kamara going, get him over 100 yards of scrimmage, the Saints typically win those games. They are 10-2 when the Saints have Alvin Kamara over 100 scrimmage yards. And Taysom Hill is that X factor. He always has been, and he will be an X factor today if you can get him going. You had to establish the run against this Eagles defense. You have to be able to get Taysom Hill met to match with some linebackers, with some safeties, get him involved some way, somehow, and utilize Chris Olave. He is an elite route runner already. I believe he can have a good game against an aggressive Darius Slay who likes to try and jump routes, try to get himself some interceptions or some really good pass breakups. You can use that aggressiveness to your advantage. I believe he's going to have a good game against Darius Slay, but that's the only good receiver we have. This isn't really a key matchup, but it's an honorable mention anyway. Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson is your leading receiver in terms of touchdown receptions so far in 2022. Juwan Johnson has seven touchdown catches. That's only second to the great Travis Kelce. You've got to get Juwan Johnson involved, especially once you are within the red zone. He is your best player down there inside the 20. If you can't find a way to get him the ball, then what are you doing? I believe he's going to have a good game, especially if you line him up against a linebacker like TJ Edwards, who is having a really good game, who is having a really good season so far. I'll give credit where it's due. But you have to find a way to get Juwan Johnson involved inside the 20 because that guy who's going to make a play for you, who you know is going to come away with points if you get the ball in his hands some way, somehow, by hook or by crook. Well, what about the Philadelphia Eagles? What do they have to do? Well, they had to be disciplined. They had to find a way to be disciplined against the run, which is not their strong suit. Their secondary, you have to force these secondaries to play out in space. You have to find ways to get Taysom, Chris Olave, even Rashid Shaheed, get those guys out in space, Make those guys miss. Set up receiver screens, tight end screens, do whatever. You have to find a way to get these guys out in space, and they have to. The Eagles have to find a way to tackle. The Eagles are not good at tackling with their defensive backs. That's a strength advantage for the New Orleans Saints, who have elusive guys like Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, maybe even Juwan Johnson, his athleticism, right? These are pivotal, as are absolutely crucial, pivotal things that must happen. And I don't believe they have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back, at least not yet. I believe he's going to be back next week. If he is playing, God help us, because I know he's going to be going crazy. Once he makes that big play, he's going to be going nuts. If you guys have seen his Instagram story earlier this week, that boy is fiending to get back for good reason. CD Deuce, I wanted this guy here. I wanted him to stay here. I wanted him to have that contract extension because he was due for it. But for whatever reason, Mickey Loomis decides, okay, let's not keep our young, athletic, core defensive backs that could really be used for the future of this defense. He wants to go out and get older guys, slower guys. Marcus May has been something of a disappointment. Tyrann Mathieu started disappointing, but coming on promising. Now, I think that's him just knowing his role in this system, knowing what's being asked of him, and being able to play at a faster pace, and his game being slowed down for him. That being said, though, this game is going to be everything and then some. I hope the Saints come away with the win. I hope the Panthers come away with the win. Because if the Bucs win and Washington win, that's another game Saints fans will have to look out for. Because if the Bucs and Washington Commanders both win today, the Saints are mathematically eliminated from postseason contention, even if they win today. So they need to win and hope for one of those guys to come away with a loss, especially the Commanders. The Commanders are a team they have to find a way to lose. They have to find a way to the Browns have to find a way to get them the L. But they have to win first. None of that matters if they don't win today. They have to win. Period. In the story. Let me know in the comment section what you think. I apologize for this being a little short. This is just my little intro back into the world of content creating. I had some people watching today. One specific person who I've been talking to. I'm not going to name names, but she knows who she is. Yes, I see you. But I hope you guys enjoy your day. Hope you guys have your pregame rituals going. The Saints are getting ready to take on the Philadelphia Eagles in less than 1 hour. It's going to be an absolutely good show. Whatever happens, I'm still black and gold until I'm dead and cold. And I'm sure a lot of you are the same way. I'll see you guys here for the post-game show of my final thoughts on today's game. I hope you guys have a good day. I'll see you guys